Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Bedroom. Thanks for coming tonight. Tonight we've got a really fun show. We've got our guest here, Jane Brenneman. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
And Elizabeth, you want to do our intro?
So welcome to Naked Talk. Naked Talk is where we get naked in a conversation of sexuality, intimacy, and relationship. We strip down and expose the bare facts so that you can learn what it takes for your love to thrive. I'm Elizabeth Wood.
And I'm Dan Powers, both at Beyond the Bedroom. And, you know, every one of our Naked Talks to date we've always talked about a sponsor that we had. Well, this is our sponsor.
Tantra Dakini is here.
Yeah, she's in the house.
Literally in the house.
Yeah.
In the Beyond the Bedroom space. So we're thrilled to have her. Jane is going to be discussing the event that she is going to be facilitating, 3 days of Tantra, 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra. I want to be really specific about that.
Yeah, so has anybody ever heard of SkyDancing Tantra or even know what Tantra means? So we're going to discuss those questions as well as a workshop that she's got coming up in November. So we'll get a chance to talk and explore that as well.
Yeah. So I'd like to formally welcome you, Jane Brenneman, founder of Tantra Dakini. So Jane, what is actually Tantra Dakini?
So Tantra is a Sanskrit word. It means to expand and liberate. Dakini is a word for an eclectic teacher or healer.
So that's what you are. She's actually a very eclectic teacher. Mm-hmm. So Jane's background includes dance, includes massage,
nursing,
psychology.
Yeah, you've got a lot going on, Janie. So tell us why you chose SkyDancing Tantra in particular. What drew you to SkyDancing?
Well, since 2001, I've been a student of Tantra teachings from many different sources. My beloved and I thought that we would seek out the foremost teachings, which we have, and we fell in love with Stephen Lakita, who run the Love and Ecstasy training in Harbin, California, Harbin Hot Springs, California. And it's just so extensive, goes on and on and on. So we've been in teachers training for more than 2 years now, still very active with the different workshops and community there.
Well, it's very extensive training too. Yes. This isn't just a weekend kind of training. This is a course that you're going out for like 10 days, 12 days at a time, right?
Right. It's okay. 10 days at a shot. We've done that 4 times. One of the times we got to study directly with Margot and Nund, who is kind of the founder of SkyDancing Tantra. She's a direct lineage from Osho. She was, and actually so was Lakita. They traveled and taught with Osho for many years.
Oh, so you got the teachings right from the horse's mouth, so to say. Yeah, that's fantastic. What was that like? Meaning, I consider Margot the grandmother of the movement, the Western movement into Tantra. So what was that like being with her? Is she, everything that I imagine, sweet and lovable and charming and delightful. What was that like for you?
She's like a powerful shaman.
Oh.
It was incredible. She really kind of embodies the mind, spirit, sexuality of the teachings of SkyDancing Tantra. And again, with the lineage of Osho, lots of moving meditation. And it comes down to 3 real bare elements of the practice, which are breath, movement, and sound, which those can raise vibration, extend our intimacy with ourself, but also with our bodies and with our beloveds. Yes.
Okay, great.
It's quite a leap from nursing to Tantra. So tell us a little bit about how you went from certainly still healing, but healing those that were sick and injured, and now doing this beautiful work in healing another type of format.
Yeah, I loved my career as a nurse. There came a time period where, I don't know if I should use names on this, but the satellite unit that I worked at in Spalding actually closed. So I had a time period that I really had time to play with things, as far as other teachings, etc. Dr. Juliana Dahl was then offering a certification course for sexual healers. And I started to really address some of my own issues about body image and low libido and mistrust of relationships, etc. And what I found over time is that, again, these are just building blocks, and they're never ending. So one teaching led to another teaching, led to a puja party, led to a community of healers. And actually in the Denver Boulder area, we have a very vast community of teachings from all kinds of lineages.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so I originally met you at a Charles Muir training.
That.
Yeah,
More than
a decade ago. Yeah. So what are the differences between something that, say, Source Tantra has versus skydancing?
The bare basics of things around beliefs of energy centers called chakras. Again, pranayamas, breathing techniques, relationship skills, being able to speak your truth, coming in terms with seeing your body as a spiritual container, ecstasy, pleasure principles, etc. There's lots of commonalities. But mostly what I see as the difference is in the actual techniques and practices. Skydancing does a lot of moving meditation, which have a breakthrough. This is where we get the mind-body psychology action going on. So, and if you say, well, I don't have any issues, you're lying.
Yeah.
But if you say I don't have any identified issues, I don't think I have any blockages. If you push a little bit more, unless you're, Jesus Christ and a guru and it's so expanded that enlightenment is there, we can all go. And one of my dear shamans, Harley Swift deer, he passed away last year, but in practice, he he developed or downloaded, if you will, Chilakwe Kadoshka, which is a form of sexual spirituality. And he identified himself as not quite enlightened as of yet, and how many lifetimes does it take?
Wow. Yeah, and he passed away. How old was he when he passed? Definitely in his 70s, maybe even his 80s.
Well, he's a product of the 60s. I remember that, in Vietnam War and all that. So yeah, it's probably in his 70s. Yeah.
So he considered himself still in training.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're always evolving, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's really interesting about this work, because so many people say, oh, well, I know how to have sex. I'm in a marriage. I know how to do that. And the reality of it is there's always things to learn. And as Jane said, we actually met you at, I believe, the first Tantra weekend that Charles Muir did in Golden, Colorado, which is where your workshop's going to be coming up at.
Yes, yeah.
And so I've been learning this stuff for 10 years now. And I would say that I still have lots and lots and lots to learn. And there's just so much to learn. It's really the new frontier, I would say, that are the final frontier. Well, I shouldn't really say that. I mean, the brain, anyway. But, around sexuality, it certainly is. There's just so much that is undiscovered because as a society, we are so uptight around it. So I highly recommend everybody take classes that are out there, whether it's the one that Jane's going to be putting on or something that Beyond the Bedroom puts on. There's teachers that are out there that have really good things to bring out. I remember at a was at a Susan G. Komen Foundation walk, and we were handing out flyers for an upcoming Beyond the Bedroom event. And this guy was walking around without his shirt, and he had these little tight shorts on, and he just thought he was really hot shit. And I gave him one of the flyers, and when he finally realized what it was all about, he said, "Oh, I don't need this," and handed the card back to me. I thought, wow, I really feel sorry for
your future or current partner.
Yeah, the women in his life, because he was clearly heterosexual, and it's like, just, I really feel sorry for.
Yeah, because I think the three of us would agree, being constant students of education on how to improve yourself, how to, be more in touch with your own sexuality, and then share that with your partners. And that should actually be a lifelong pursuit, so that we can all have healthy sexual relationships into our 60s, 70s, 80s,
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sex is such a huge, important part of our lives as humans. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not, and to stifle it. And unfortunately, so many women get stifled around it. But anyway, back to Jane and off my soapbox.
Well, one more idea about this. Our vitality is really based on our experiences, and those are sensual experiences. That's what makes you alive. And
Absolutely.
To deny our sexual pleasure is to deny our life force. And so when we talk about to thrive is to hit that pleasure point that psychologically you allow yourself to experience without shame or guilt or any of those, teachings that our culture brings up. But also then to enhance it in ways that, we think of Karma Sutra or different techniques, etc. But with, again, breath, movement, and sounding can expand the experience.
Yeah, but what about all those guys out there? So what would you say, Jane? Because so many men were taught, actually so many men and women are taught to be silent. You don't want to wake, let's just say, you're a teenager and you don't want to wake your parents who are in the upstairs bedroom, or
you'll get caught.
Yeah, you don't want to wake your roommates in college. So actually we've been trained to be quiet. So what are the teachings around, why is it important for us to vocalize?
Well, if we look at, again, the chakra system, our throat chakra is our area of communication. It's our area of expression, and it enhances our orgasmic potential. Here's a test. When you self-pleasure, and I'm assuming everybody does, or else you're lying.
Or else you're lying. Good, I like that. It's just calling you out, people.
But when you self-pleasure, allow yourself to move that energy with your vocalizations. And I know this was one of the hardest teachings for me to actually take into personal practice, because I was one of those girls that didn't want to sound like a whore or a slut, enjoying it too much, or just so shut down that there really isn't that much vocal response. Let me know when you're done, kind of thing. So to truly be in your body, you would naturally sound. So you're
and sounding means moaning, heavy breath, stuff like that.
Right. I particularly don't use too many words, but tell me, make a sound. What does this feel like?
I'm imagining she's doing it to me.
Hey, wait, no, back over here.
Yeah.
Well, and when you're having an intimate session with your beloved, you need that communication back and forth. Yeah, it's so important. I think it's vitally important that my beloved's engaged with me, that I have some sense of, do you like this? Do you not like that? Making love to a dead fish just isn't fun.
Yeah, it's also a feedback loop. It lets them know that you're enjoying their touch. It can heighten their level of arousal. Nothing's more pleasurable for me than hearing my partner moan, or sigh with delight. I know that I'm pleasing him, and if he's silent, that doesn't mean that I'm not doing a good job. But I actually encourage him to make noise and let me know how I'm doing, with a murmur, with a moan, with a sigh.
Yeah. So great sex tip number one is letting your partner know some of these visual and audible cues. I know as well. So the sounding is great, and for those who aren't making a lot of sound, it's really good to watch their body, kind of see where they're tensing up, if they're starting to writhe a little bit. So, all of that stuff is really good for the whole lovemaking side of things.
Yeah.
But sounding also really helps the energy flow in the body and in the chakras.
Yeah. So when we climax, we have a contraction. Yeah. With an expanded orgasm, we have a release. Ah, it's a little bit different than It's
Nice.
So using that's a really good sound, Jane. Using the voice can enhance and expand your experience of orgasm. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
And a pleasure. So take Jane's tip. Try it. If you're too embarrassed, how am I going to sound with a partner? Try it with your own self-love and self-play.
And see if that doesn't enhance your own energetic response. But it's not just about hitting that climax. It's about really self-pleasuring, which is moving your energy, which is involving all of your senses. And one other thing to address is our learning potentials. So most women are more audio, and most men are more visual learners. So yeah, audibly, that's really important that sense gets stimulated for me. And I imagine in the same way that for men to have visual prompts of arousal are
More
much
of a
important.
turn on.
Yeah.
More of a turn on.
Yeah. I know when Elizabeth is starting to moan and move, and I can tell in her body that she's being turned on, it definitely makes my lovemaking tour more pleasurable as well. Absolutely. Good tips. We're getting a lot of good tips, man. I like having this here. I get touched.
Massage. So I want to ask, I want to inform everyone. Jane is, as I said, facilitating a 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra in Golden, Colorado in November. It starts November 14th, which is a Friday, a short evening session, and then it's all day, most of the day Saturday, and pretty much about 5 hours on Sunday. So in that teaching, Jane, what are you envisioning? I know it's not going to, we're probably going to come up with some surprises, but what do you envision the weekend to look like?
So a Friday night, we'll have a basic run through of the history of Tantra, kind of an overview of the agenda and the schedule, so everybody knows what to expect, that there will also be guidelines as far as what expectations we have as a sangha or a group to develop a safe and sacred time and space together, as well as to start our introduction of relationships. So that'll be Friday night. Friday night it'll be, what do I want to say, a theater kind of seating for most of it. And then after people kind of get their grounding, then we'll do an introduction, which we'll be asking people, their name, where they're from, what brought them to the workshop.
That's really important.
Yeah, what do they wish to get out of the workshop, and what do they have? Who is showing up there? What do they have to offer to this group?
I think that's really important to the collective. You called it a sangha, the group. Because we each have pieces, different experiences that we're going to go through, and different experiences that we can add to the group. And I think what I'm hearing you say is like each participant is like an ingredient, and over the weekend, Dick, we're going to create something that only that group of people can create in that weekend. So that's going to be beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So then what about?
And I would say, I know for all the different courses that I've taken, it's really true. The people who are in attendance, they don't actually even have to say or do anything. They're not going to get up and do teaching, certainly, but their participation really shapes the entire weekend.
Yes.
So that's great.
Yeah, and the attendees really are my teachers.
That's it. always a learner, even though you're in the front of the room. Good for you, Janie. Yeah, one of my favorite teachers used to say that. She was so excited to start each academic year because she had no idea what she was going to learn in those particular semesters, is what they were called. Yeah, so what about Saturday and Sunday?
So Saturday will be an all-day event. We will have a large break time for people to walk around the beautiful town of Golden, which has so many historic sites and shops, and it's really a tourist. It's
a beautiful place. Yeah.
It has a creek right by there. People, can walk, etc. But basically, the agenda will be that we'll start each session with some kind of movement, and you don't have to be a formal dancer to be a sky dancer. I've had a number of people ask me, is that the same as aerial dance? Are we going to come from a class? I say that's a more advanced class.
Yeah.
But we'll start with some kind of movement, and then we'll go through an actual exercise, which may be a moving meditation like quantum life breath or chakra balancing exercise, etc. Then the group will have time period to process with each other what they gained, any insights that anyone gained, any blockages that anybody's identified, and the bonding.
Yeah.
And that's really great too, because one of the concerns I've heard from people in the classes that I've done in the past as well is, I don't really want to participate. I want to kind of sit in the back of the room and watch. And you still learn. You don't have to step up. I mean, you're not going to be called out, put on the spot, or anything like that. And you can learn from other people sharing their experiences. I know certainly I'm not one of these people that is really out there and raising my hand and speaking up a lot during workshops. And I get so much from the other people sharing. It's like, oh, that applies to me too. Wow, I can use that for my own healing, teaching, whatever it might be. So now it's really great as well. I really like that, appreciate that. And the other thing is, I know I'm not a dancer, right? I don't like to dance at workshops. I know. And
that's no big secret.
Right. But at these workshops, it really, you're not expected to be a professional dancer. You don't even have to really dance. You can just sit and move. Whatever is your pace.
Yeah, the point is that these are movement exercises. They aren't dance exercises. Right. Some people may be swaying to the music, but others may just. So in one of the teachings that I've actually been in with you, you said, Jane, if I remember this correctly, you said, don't move to the music, let the music move you. And I think that helped me, because I'm a better dancer than Dan is, but I'm still not a dancer. I've never had any formal training. And that allowed me to sort of sink in, and all right, I'm paying attention, as Jane also mentioned, the sense of sound, and how might I want to react to that? And so I like that point, which is really good, is that, no, this isn't about dancing. It's about movement and what happens when we move in these exercises.
Right. And it's funny when we catch ourselves truly in the moment of feeling whatever we feel and expressing it with our bodies versus when we're in our head going, okay, chasse, step on, when we're choreographing it with taught steps. Yeah. It's totally different than just the innate quality that we all have to want to move our bodies and express, to music, and again with sound and breath.
Right.
Yeah, and that's also a very interesting point to make around breath, and how so many of us, with the act of lovemaking and sex, we actually hold our breath. And, just that simple, like take that deep inhale, and then immediately, that long extended exhale, see how that can move your energy, because this actually just. Yeah, and I think, the point of climax is being on a scale of 1 to 10. That's the 10. That's the tip over.
what happens to the 7, the 8, the 9? That's where we want to hang out and
enjoy that orgasmic energy. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the kind of the definition of arousal is that state between relaxation and excitement. That's where we find deepened arousal.
Nice.
Okay. So another tip is breathe.
Yeah.
Inhale, exhale without holding. And the pattern of breath is going to change. I mean, as the arousal builds, our breath becomes short, our inhale, exhale cycle becomes shorter. But explore that. I would imagine that that's what we're going to do in class also is, learn how to breathe differently through our states of arousal.
Yes, lots of pranayama, or prana is kind of the primordial life energy. So we can learn how to manipulate our experiences with our breath. It's real hard. It's kind of like try to be really pissed off and smile at the same time. It's hard to do. Try to be really relaxed and breathe like this.
Doesn't work.
Hard to do. So
and I think I used to be a chest breather, and most of us in the United States actually don't take enough deep breaths. And we live in Colorado, so be careful. The three of us might pass out or hyperventilate. But that deep breathing and that belly breathing is something that's actually lost. So I find it very interesting that a lot of teachings that we have to actually be reminded. I mean, it's a function obviously that keeps us alive, but to really relearn the power of the simplicity of breath. Yet it's so complex because most of us just do this chest breathing. And I mean, even retraining my own body so that I'm in with the deep belly breathing. It actually tends to sort of deepen the voice as you even bring your voice and your breath down from in and out from your lower abdomen. So that's going to be fun. And it's something that even though I may seem to be more versed at it, it's something that I continuously need to be reminded of. So those deep inhale and deep exhales, which again.
So we were talking about Saturday. Are we done with Saturday?
So Saturday we'll go until 9 o'clock at night, and there will be actually a party towards the end that is still coming into creation.
Okay.
Sunday we start again 9 o'clock in the morning, kind of go through our routine, and then together we'll enjoy a brunch. Food being part of the celebration of our relationships with each other. This is fascinating to me, and I've done it so many times, and I still catch myself doing it. When you come into a new group, if you can catch yourself having any kind of judgment about, well, this person looks, like they're right-brained or left-brained, or I bet that's an accountant or or an engineer. Or
hey, what I get a job for?
But by the end of this weekend, we develop some intimacies in the relationship, and I always catch myself falling in love with the group and with the different participants, and catching myself of incorrect assumptions. Words. What are those? They speak right back to you. That's your mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay.
Yeah. So when do we get naked?
That's when we do the aerial sky dance. Actually,
level 12.
for this workshop, there is no nudity and there is no genital touch. This is a beginner's weekend, if you will. So it doesn't mean that there can't be home practice, but the actual seminar itself, again, will not have nudity, but we will ask you to bring comfortable things to wear so that we can do some movement, some exercises on the floor, which will play with touch. And what else? items to set up your sacred space. So that may be a sarong or a medicine blanket, different pillows, those kinds of things.
Okay. Yeah, and I actually knew the answer to that question, but I know a lot of times people hear Tantra and they think, oh, this is just going to be this big sex orgy kind of thing. And it's absolutely not that at all.
Yeah, so Jane, how would you answer that? So I heard Tantra is just about sex. Can you dispel that myth for us?
Yeah, that's kind of like saying $1 is all about 10 cents. It's sex is absolutely a vital part of it, but that's only one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all about sex? Sex is certainly a very, very important part of it. It is our life force. But Tantra is a huge umbrella of different practices. Some lineages of Tantra don't include sexuality.
Well, isn't it true that all yogas are based out of Tantra? I mean, the Kundalini yoga and a lot of those yogas, I mean, there's a whole number of sutras that are part of the Tantric Bible, if you will. And of those sutras, like I think there's like 112 or 14, I always forget the exact number, but like 6 of them are related to sexuality. And in the West, it's kind of that term Tantra has been kind of adopted as, oh, this is a big sex thing. That's what everybody focuses on.
Well,
but it's
we
so much more than that.
sensationalize it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It probably sells books.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and back, years and years ago, like thousands of years ago, there was a belief that celibacy was closer to godliness. Except Tantrikas were the rebels who said, no, our sexuality is part of our sacrament of prayer. So it brings us closer to God.
Right. And part of the whole practice of Tantra is being able to reach enlightenment through orgasmic pleasure, orgasmic connectedness, and everything else involved with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that there have been questions as we've been setting up the 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra. So can people come by themselves? Do they have to be in partnership? Let us know what the structure.
Yeah, excellent question. And a lot of people are going to be asking that. So an individual is welcome. We have what we call deep divers, which is a committed relationship that chooses just to work with each other, and that's fine. Or free floaters, which are individuals that may be in relationship or not, but are willing to work with other people throughout different exercises. And tell you the truth, sometimes it's easier not to work with your committed partner because you can expand outside of what your role would be in the relationship to who you are at the
baggage
moment.
that you might bring in with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to ask these exercises. So it's not like you're going to be kissing somebody else or something like that. These exercises that you'd work with somebody else, how intimate are those going to be relative to, like, I mean, can imagine somebody hearing this is going to say, well, gee, I'm going there with my partner. I'm still thinking this is kind of a sex thing. And I really don't want my partner going out with somebody else. And, are they going to be kissing? Are they going to be caressing each other? Is it going to be safe?
Yeah, a big concern for many couples.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the exercises, we'll describe to you what it is that will happen. And then you can make a decision whether you want to work with your partner or not. Many of these exercises will be getting into triads or foursomes, etc., depending on what the nature of that exercise is. So you don't really have to have a gender balance, even for exercises. But looking at, I want to come back to a thought about yoga. Word yoga, it means to yoke. So if you could envision the yin yang, black and white symbol, that's what brings in wholeness. So you start with mastering your own energy centers to become whole, so that then you can have a good polarity with whatever partner that you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Again, be that male, female, threesome,
Right.
larger groups, etc.
Right.
So there are paired exercises, whether you're in partnership or not. Participants will be grouped together of their choice. And they can always, I remember we talked ahead of time, they can choose to sit out an exercise. And as Dan said, they're still going to absorb the exercise and, they're not asked to leave the room, but they just won't actively participate, although there will be reverberation of whatever's happening in the room.
And choice is a strong word. All the exercises, anything, you always have the choice whether to participate, not participate, or what level. But you will be encouraged.
Yes.
Yeah.
Softly.
Yeah.
Softly
And it's interesting because I know people, some other workshops that we've attended, Elizabeth and I have attended, people have gone there and they said, yeah, they made us do something. Like, are you kidding? You're always a choice. Unless somebody's putting a gun to your head or a knife to your throat, you're always a choice to do something. So I would say that, nobody's ever forcing you to do something. If they force you to do something, then you're not powerful enough in your no to say that you don't want to do something. And so just be more clear about it. Sometimes people will kind of hesitate and say, well, that was my no. Like, no, just because you hesitated but then said yes doesn't mean that was a no. You really need to be a lot more clear and powerful around your no.
Yeah.
So.
And because we know Jane and we know her teachings, that maybe, as in the Jack Johnson song, maybe always means no. So, until you have your clear yes, that maybe we're going to ask, Jane is going to ask you to state the no and choose not to participate or do whatever, because that's part of Jane's teaching. And, that's why we like her so much. It's part of the Beyond the Bedroom teaching as well. No, is to really empower people to say both an empowered yes and an empowered no. And just this morning, that's what you said. You really can't have an individual doesn't have an empowered yes until they are able to state their no and their no clearly.
Right.
Is that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I think a lot of this will be taught to people that's what you can do. But I just wanted people to understand that, it is helpful to be very clear around their no as well.
Yeah. Okay. One of the exercises that we'll spend quite a bit of time doing is called setting up sacred space. In this setup, you're making agreements, and so you can clarify what your boundaries are and what your desires are. And here again, we'll go through this in detail at the workshop, but to clear out any things that don't serve you at that time. And that could be self-consciousness, that could be jealousy, that could be negativity, that could be sore feet, it could be anything. But then what you want to bring into the energy of with the person that you're working with, or the group that you're working with. So, and again, boundaries can be one of the exercises that we'll do around boundaries. Is kind of a fun group activity that we all do it, but it's without prompting too many things. Like if I said, just what are your boundaries in relationship? Someone may answer, dishonesty is outside of my boundaries. Another person may answer, scat play is outside my boundary. I mean, it could be anywhere. Another person may say,
my husband isn't allowed to talk to other women. That's a pretty severe boundary, but it's maybe some woman's boundary.
Or it could, and people without, again, prompting, come up with all kinds of answers to it. It could be smoking is outside of a boundary of my relationship. So anyway, come with an open heart, open mind. Promise we will honor and keep you safe.
Right. Now you have a number of people that are going to be there to support this as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about them and how people could use them?
Yes, as we talked about in the Denver Boulder area, we have a number of practitioners from different lineages, many of whom have worked with Beyond the Bedroom conferences, etc. So we'll have keepers of the heart, which are volunteers that are there for emotional support if anything should trigger that somebody wants someone to talk to about it. And over the long lunch break, I encourage you to pair up. I'll give it more direct assignment, but to know that there's keepers of the heart. There's also keepers of the space, and those are people that are going to make sure that there's water available, there's tissues available, all the logistics about the bathrooms, how to get registration, all of that kind of things. And then assistants too. The assistants may be participants in some exercises, or they may be guided to walk from group to group to see if there's any questions or how the progress is going for each group. The one other thing the assistants asked to do is to step in or step out as numbers are needed.
To balance it out.
Yeah.
Right. And I know one of the things that we've done in the past as well with different teachings, and I assume this will apply here, is if there's somebody who is uncomfortable in a particular workshop, say there's a woman who's coming in and there's an exercise coming up, and she's uncomfortable being with somebody that she doesn't really know, some of us will be there to help support them. And we can jump into doing that particular exercise with that person, be it Elizabeth, myself, or one of the other people that are going to be there, so you really understand and know that this isn't some strange person coming in off the street that has no experience, and put yourself in that vulnerable space. So we can kind of help nurture that along until you can get into more vulnerable space with people if need be.
Right. And again, the encouragement, I mean, what your intentions are is a strong statement of what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so I want people to challenge themselves to push beyond the limits of who they think they are.
Yeah, we like the euphemism of stretch your boundaries, don't break them, but stretch that rubber band so that it expands a little bit more and becomes a little more inclusive of new ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, if you're a person, I mean, let's go back to the yes-no exercise. If you're a person who's a people pleaser and you do everything because you believe you're going to fulfill a desire of someone else, but it's not really your desire, pushing that edge and actually feeling into your no, and in this practice environment, being able to state your no, that's going to be maybe that's what you come for, and maybe that's what you get. Is that an empowered no, and then have confidence to use it in other areas of your life as the weekend closes and you move on. So there's a lot to SkyDancing Tantra. Are you hoping to, I know we're not, and participants are not going to get everything in the whole weekend. Is this something that we can expect you to repeatedly bring new SkyDancing teachings to us as time goes on? Because I know this is the first weekend that you're doing the 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra. So any plans, whether they're concrete or not, but will you continue to teach?
Absolutely. It's my nature.
Okay.
Looking at when would be the next event will really be determined on the request for it, and whether it be a repeat of a beginner's or if this will be an added on more intermediate kind of teaching is yet to develop.
Okay, so this one, the 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra in November, this is what is considered a beginner's course.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay,
Absolutely.
So just to get that straight.
Yeah.
All right.
And as you were talking about having an empowered no, one of the things, especially for women, is to have an empowered yes, too. I think we're so conditioned to say, oh, no, it's all right, don't worry about me, or I'm not really into it because it's not really addressing my pleasure needs, etc. To allow ourselves an empowered, yes, I do want this. And yes, I have permission to ask for what I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's really encouraging. And I know that most of the tantric lineages, actually, that's what we foster. So I'm sure you're going to do a great job at that. So let me look through some of the teachings so you two talk amongst yourselves about something while I say talk amongst yourselves.
She tells us to talk and then she keeps making noise.
Oh, this is a really good one. So how might some of the practices that you're going to teach, how might that enhance a couple's relationship?
I can tell you, my beloved Mike and I, who have been studying many different lineages, but SkyDancing together, it has really encouraged us to step out of our routine box to continue our self-discovery, but the discovery of what we want our relationship to hold. And some of that is big one, trust that our needs will be met, our boundaries will be respected, our desires, that we have the responsibility for our own experience. And so the blame game of, you don't love me right, kind of gets squashed there, because we have to take responsibility for our own pleasure.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and that's not something that's taught in our culture. And we have this blame game, and I think the fact that I think it's really prevalent in the United States that we don't take a lot of responsibility for our own actions. And when I say our own actions, I'm talking about just for us ourselves. We expect somebody else to come in and nurture us, take care of us, make love to us, whatever it is, and
create the orgasm for us.
Right.
Do it to us.
Yeah. And so, I think that's huge, and a huge learning and teaching for people to get. So.
And I know it is really bonded us much tighter, much closer. In so many ways that, again, sexual being just one part of that. The relationship skills, another huge one. To be able to speak our truth, to come from an honest heart, to have the ambition and motivation to keep the adventure and fire going, the fluidity of our sexuality, the way that we feel about our genital selves, ourselves as a man or a woman, and the polarities that work out between those.
Okay, great. So we're approaching the end of this episode of Naked Talk.
Are we?
Wow, I did. It just flew by.
Yeah. So we want to start talking a little bit about some of the things that are coming up.
So first we're going to do specifically SkyDancing, the 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra. So to learn more, Jane, what is the name of the website?
The website is 3 Days of SkyDancing Tantra.com.
So and that's the number 3. Don't spell it out.
Actually, spell it out will be fine too.
Yeah, you'll be directed either way. But 3 days of SkyDancing Tantra to learn more, and certainly to register.
And that's going to be November 14th through 16th. So it's coming up fairly quickly.
It's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, so no excuses of, I got to thaw the turkey.
It's a football game.
Yeah, there will be a football game, but what's that thing? You can pre-record it and watch it as if it were live. So all the registration details, and we can actually really talk about the pricing, because it's, if I'm remembering, $297 for a single.
For individual. And then it'll increase by $100 for more people that you bring. So a couple would be $397, a threesome would be $497, etc. So it gets more and more affordable the more
you bring in
folks that you invite.
If you are a couple and you've got another friend that's a couple as well, that's 4 people. So if you all sign up together, then you get a much bigger group rate and group savings. So I think that's great. So 4 people, I think, is $497. Oh, I forget. Yeah, but whatever it is, it's going to give you a nice little discount. So bring your friends, come once, come often, that kind of thing.
Bring your sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jane, in terms of, are you open to same-sex couples? So.
Yeah, absolutely. On these exercises, because you don't have to pair up with someone other than for this exercise. Same-sex partners are fine. I like to see the gender balance, but it's not absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I think that's an important question.
Yeah, absolutely. So then after that weekend, we've got a woman coming into Colorado named Monique Darling. She's going to be teaching we're actually going to be doing an event, a panel at Naropa University. So we're very excited about that. That'll be the Thursday before Thanksgiving.
November 20th.
And then the 21st, we're going to have something called a Pink Puja. And then Saturday, we've got a number of different workshops.
Monique's doing 3 classes, one on releasing shame and guilt, another one on energetic sex.
And then another one on figuring out what you want for dreaming for your life. And then Sunday, we've got a Dakini circle
So
that she's going to be running.
only.
Yeah, it's a women's only kind of event. So we're very excited about that. And then we're pretty much done for
For the year.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little holiday break, a winter break as Dan gears up into his ski patrol season. But we're really going to come out fresh and with a lot of passion in 2015. So it's not that we're slowing down. Yeah.
And I know some of your plans for 2015.
Oh yeah, Janie knows some of our plans. So see how excited she got. So I'll share that with you as it comes down the road. But look for that on bedevents.com. Under events, you'll see our workshop and class tab.
You can also find Jane's event, 3 Days of SkyDancing Tantra, at bedevents.com as well. So if you happen to go there and forgot how to get to 3 Days of SkyDancing Tantra, you'll definitely see it on our calendar also.
It's there. Sweet. So should we wrap up?
I think that's it.
So this is going to be kind of funny because you all know the close, but I want to thank Jane in particular for being here. She drove up so we could do this all together. We thought it would be way more fun. So I'll do our formal wrap up and then we'll say our goodbyes. So per usual, that about wraps up tonight's Naked Talk. We want to thank all of you for participating and being a part of this really potent conversation. We do want to thank our sponsor, Tantra Dakini. Anna's the first one. Yeah, she gets to do the wave. Our sponsor, Tantra Dakini, the online resource for materials relating to spiritual and sacred sexuality. And that is TantraDakini.org. And we get to thank her in person.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, see. Has anybody ever noticed that, like, when a plane goes into turbulence, if there's a woman sitting between, I've noticed this, between her partner and another woman, it's the two women who hold on to each other first. And the guy's like, hey, I know we're not going down. It's only turbulence, but hey, what about me? So Jane and I just did that. So thank you.
I've never noticed that.
Haven't you? I've pointed it out to people numerous times because actually I'm usually the one grabbing the woman. I think she understands me better. I don't know. So anyway, thank you so much, Jane, for being with us. We hope to see many of you at the 3 Days of SkyDancing Tantra workshop, where clearly Dan and I are going to, depending on our assignments, being keepers of the heart or keepers of the space.
Right.
So any final words, Jane?
Yeah, I would like to bring us to Namaste, which is the divine within us recognizes and greets the divine within you.
Oh, that's
Namaste.
beautiful. Namaste.
Namaste. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.